One chapter of Bible before we get started. Genesis chapter 30. Jacob is currently in Padan Aram, where he got married to the wrong wife and then the right wife. When Rachel saw that she was not bearing Jacob any children, she became jealous of her sister, who already had 4 children. So she said to Jacob, "Give me children or I'll die." Now, this is not a threat, obviously. This is a statement. And I'm going to tell you, basically, the Jew lore here is anyone that doesn't have children, it's as if they're dead. So when she says, "Give me children or I'll die," that is not a threat. This is basically a state of affairs. Because someone who lives their life without any children, it's as if they're dead. It's the number one most fulfilling thing any person can do. And for whatever reason, in the West, we're taught not to actually care about this. Jacob became angry with her and said, "Am I in the place of God who has kept you from having children?" This is like Jacob saying, why are you blaming me? I'm doing my part, okay? Then she said, "Here is Bilhah, my servant. Sleep with her, so that she can bear children for me, for I too can build a family through her." So she gave him her servant Bilhah as a wife. Jacob slept with her, and she became pregnant and bore him a son. Then Rachel said, "God had vindicated me, for he has listened to my plea and given me a son." Because of this, she named him Dan. Yep, that's Dan. Rachel's servant Bilhah conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, "I have had a great struggle with my sister, and I have won." So she named him Naphtali. That when Leah saw that she had stopped having children, she took her servant Zilpah and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Leah said, "What good fortune." So she named him Gad. The Leah's servant Zilpah bore Jacob a second son, and Leah said, "How happy I am. The women call me happy." So she was named Asher. All right. Anyway, so that's the story, basically. That is the story. All right. So that's what we got. So far, that is a total of 10 sons. Not yet. No, that is 8 sons so far. Right? So that is Jacob's 8 sons so far. He gets 4 more. Spoilers. During wheat harvest, Reuben went out of the fields. Oh man, this is when Reuben does something pretty bad, and he gets punished for it, and found some mandrake plants. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that was how the English translated it. Anyway, interesting. Mandrake plants, which he brought to his mother Leah. Rachel said to Leah, "Please, give me some of your son's mandrakes." But, oh no, this wasn't what he was punished for. My bad. Spoilers, he gets punished for something later. But she said to her, "Wasn't it enough that you took my husband? Will you take my son's mandrakes too?" Oh my God. That's intense. Because technically, Leah got married first to Jacob. Even though it was a trick, still, that's wild. And the reality is, all right, I'm gonna hit you with some hard-hitting factos. Jacob was married to Rachel and Leah. Jacob liked Leah less than Rachel, even though Leah had children. What she ultimately wanted was the love of her husband, and she wasn't getting it. And she was destroyed because of it, because she just wasn't receiving proper love, because the love that Jacob had was for Rachel, which is wild. It's just wild to like that is fundamentally what every wife obviously wants, love and attention of their husband. "Very well," Rachel said. "He can sleep with you tonight in return for your son's mandrakes." So she was like, "Fine, you could have him tonight, which is my night," all right, because they obviously took turns. All right, Jacob was he fulfilled all of his marital duties. All right, he fulfilled all of his marital duties, and therefore, he made sure to divide his time properly. And she was like, "You could have my shift." Okay. So when Jacob came in from the fields that evening, Leah went to meet him. "You must sleep with me," she said. "I have hired you with my son's mandrakes." And he's like, "I am not getting involved. I am not getting involved in this spat, okay? We are not touching this. Sure, whatever you say." I love that Jacob's like, all right, whatever y'all are saying. Anyway, and so he slept with her that night instead. And wow, absolutely diabolical. God listened to Leah, and she became pregnant and bore Jacob a 5th son. That night, it happened. And Leah said, "God had rewarded me for giving my servant to my husband." So she named him Issachar, he was like a studious guy. Anyway, moving on. Leah conceived again, bore Jacob a sixth son. Leah said, God presented me with a precious gift. This time my husband will treat me with honor. That's still what she's thinking about. Isn't that incredible? She's still thinking about this. Here she is. She's having 6 children, and the first thing that she's thinking of, now my husband will treat me with honor. Now he'll love me, which ultimately, fundamentally, is what every wife wants. It's unbelievable. Like, the Bible is like absolute truth. It really is. Because I had borne him 6 sons, so she named him Zebulun. It's so wild. This is the origin stories of the 12 tribes of Israel, exactly. But that's where it is, man. That is the fundamental truth. That's what she wants. Now, this is going to be controversial. But every marriage counselor and therapist and all these retards, they're all wrong. They're all wrong. All you need to do is love your wife. That's it. You love your wife, that's it. And then that's everything. That's everything you need. That's everything she needs. That's the ultimate conclusion. Anyway, epic spoilers, I guess. Sometime later, she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. There's whole Jew lore here about Dinah, but whatever. We won't talk about that right now. Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and enabled her to conceive. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son. Finally, Rachel's first son. God had taken away my disgrace. She named him Joseph and said, may the Lord add another son. Because Joseph literally means to add on. Anyway. What if you've given everything and he still doesn't love you? Listen, man, that's his problem. That's his problem. The ball's ultimately in his court. He needs to love you. Look, it takes 2 to tango, obviously. There's always 2 sides to every, marriage situation. But fundamentally, at its core, if the husband truly treats his wife well and loves her with his whole heart, she'll do anything for him. And that's ultimately what she wants. So anyway, moving on. So that's Joseph. That's when Joseph showed up. All right, so there is epic Jew lore here about Dinah and Joseph, but we're not going to get into that because we don't have time. Jacob's flock increased. After Rachel gave birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, send me on my way so I can go back to my own homeland. All right, give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and I will be on my way. Right? He worked for him for 14 years for this. You know how much work I've done for you? But Laban said to him, if you have found favor in your eyes, please stay. I've earned my divination, and the Lord had blessed me because of you. He's like, listen, you're a holy man. Your work has been really helpful. He added, name your wages. I will pay them. Jacob said, you know I have worked for you, and how your livestock and fare and under my care. The little you had before I came increased greatly, and the Lord blessed you wherever I have been. Now, when I may do something for my own household, like when could I leave? When could I do my own thing? I want to hear the Jew lore. All right, I'll tell you the Jew lore after. What shall I give you? He asked. Don't give me anything, Jacob replied. Laban is like, please stay, please. God is blessing me because you're here. You're like a righteous man and stuff. Please stay. And he's like, nope. I am leaving. All right, you a bitch. That's basically what he told him. But if you will do this one thing for me, I will go on tending your flocks and watching over them. Let me go through all your flocks today. Remove from every speckled or spotted sheep. Oh, dude, this is amazing. Remove from them every speckled or spotted sheep, every dark-colored lamb, every spotted or speckled goat. They will be my wages. This is incredible. So he says, listen, I want to leave. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to deal with you guys. All right? I don't want to deal with this. I don't want your free stuff. I don't want any of this. My wages will be the speckled and spotted and dark-colored lambs and goats. All right? And, I mean, that sounds pretty good. And my honesty will testify for me in the future. Wherever you check on the wages you have paid me, any goat in my possession that is not speckled or spotted, any lamb that is not dark-colored will be considered stolen. That was the deal he made. He just did not want to look like a thief. All right? This is what he didn't want to look like a thief. He's like, listen, you'll pay me with the spotted and speckled sheeps. All right? And anytime you see a sheep of mine that's not spotted or speckled, you can have him back. All right? I will give him to you. We will assume it's stolen. All right? The ultimate, and agreed, said Laban. Let it be as you said. He's like, yo, this is a sick deal. This is awesome. None of my sheeps are really speckled after all. That same day, he removed all the male goats that were streaked or spotted, all the speckled and spotted female goats, all that had white on them, and the dark-colored lambs. He placed them in this care of his sons. All right. Then he put a 3-day journey between him and Jacob, while Jacob continued to tend to the rest of Laban's flocks. Jacob, however, took the fresh-cut branches from the poplar. almond and plane trees that were made with white stripes on them by peeling back the bark and exposing the white inner wood of the branches. Then he placed the peeled branches in all the watering troughs so that they would be directly in front of the flocks that they came to drink. When the flocks were in heat and came to drink, they made it in front of the branches, and they bore young that were streaked or speckled or spotted. Jacob said original breeding. Goat racism. Jacob set apart the flock by themselves, but made the rest face the streaked and dark-colored animals that belonged to Laban. Thus, he made separate flocks for himself. He did not put them with Laban's animals, right? He ultimately did divide them. All right. Whenever the stronger females were in heat, Jacob would place the branches in the troughs in front of the animals, and they would mate near the branches. But if the animals were weak, he would not place them there. So the weak animals went to Laban, and the strong ones to Jacob. In this way, the man grew exceedingly prosperous and came to own large flocks and female and male servants and camels and donkeys. And he just became mega super rich because of goat apartheid. And essentially, he eugenics these guys, and then he had a goat army of speckled goats. All right, that's the lore. Anyway, that's that. So I'll give you I'll tell you the Jew lore real quick. All right, in just like a second. So here's some Jew lore. Basically, here's the Jew lore. Sheep segregation, exactly. So this story with Dinah and Joseph. So apparently, according to the Jew lore, Leah became pregnant, and it was a boy. All right, or at least she was like a prophetess of sorts, so she knew it was a boy. It was supposed to be Joseph, and she felt bad. And she felt bad that would mean that Rachel will have like max one son. And she felt really bad because she had no sons at that point. So Leah prayed and prayed and prayed and prayed. And the way the Jew lore goes is that it morphed into a girl. Or instead of morphed, it ended up being a girl, and it ended up being Dinah. And Joseph was supposed to be Leah's kid, but ended up being Rachel's because of her prayers for her sister. That's the Jew lore. But anyway, moving on. That's the Jew lore.